You get stale.
Popcorn?
Popcorn.
Popcorn.
You forget about things like stale.
Popcorn.
Popcorn, stale popcorn.
Popcorn.
Pop.
This is the
Stale.
Popcorn.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Stale Popcorn Podcast. I'm your host, Steven, and with me, as always, is my co-host, my buddy, my good time boy, Christopher. How you doing, friendo?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Steve?
I'm good. My body's broken. I had to sleep on the floor last night.
Getting a fight with the missus, huh?
No, I was just help my daughter go back to bed, so I was like, I had to sleep on the floor, and I'm not a spry young man, and when you're young, you could sleep on the floor and just bounce back, and now in my old age, I got to plan my day, you know? It's like, if I want to eat Taco Bell, I got to plan my whole day. It's just... Anyway, Chris...
Yes.
We got quite the show for you. We're going to be talking about some stuff and things in that order. If you want to jump around, we got timestamps in the description. If you don't want to be spoiled on certain things, we're going to be talking some news and then what we've been watching and then getting into a Netflix movie that we're just jonesing to discuss. So do you mind if I start? I got plenty of news to dive into.
Please start.
First of which, Daredevil Born Again trailer.
Ooh.
Did you see it?
Sure. Yeah, Daredevil, he's got the red mask, got some glasses. I think he's like deaf or blind. Punisher probably shows up. It was just amazing, Steve. Can't wait.
I'm impressed, Chris. You've established yourself in such a way that I would challenge people who don't know you, whether or not you've actually seen the things I'm talking about. Because I myself don't know if you've actually seen the trailer.
Yeah, it's crazy. He says something about great power and great responsibility.
Okay, all right, you've shown your hand now.
What about my uncle? Did you give him a chance? He said that, I remember.
Yeah.
He did ask the really introspective question when he says, do you know what happens to a toad when it gets struck by lightning?
That was the best part of the zinger at the end of the trailer.
Yeah, it's classic.
No, this one looks good. Probably the best trailer. One of the most excited projects I'm excited for 2024. As I recall, Chris, you're a big fan of the Daredevil series. Is that correct?
I like to punish her.
There, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Daredevil Netflix is probably one of the best things Marvel's put out. TBH.
You seen them all?
I've seen...
up to DATE?
Yeah. All the Daredevil content, yeah. I guess I didn't see all of She-Hulk. I just watched the parts with Daredevil, so...
he's in that, huh?
He's in it, yep. He wears a yellow and red suit, and he goes to Los Angeles.
I'm excited for it. I like me some Matthew Murdock. Froggy, is that the guy's name?
Foggy Nelson, yep. The Bash brother. Karen's back. Punisher's back. He's got a beard. He's wielding a hatchet. Bloody Wilson Fisk is back. I really hope that they don't nerf it too much, because as I understand it, they had this whole thing done. Like, this whole series was kind of like done, and they were finishing it up. 18 episodes, if I recall. And then the studio was like, maybe we should take a look at this again. They kind of scrapped the whole thing and they just restarted everything. So they reshot a good portion of it, redid a bunch of stuff. And so this was the final product. I believe it's 12 episodes. I know it's not 18 anymore. That would be quite the chore to get through TBH. Yeah, it's got some interesting characters. I had to do some research and looking at them. There's a villain called Muse in there. Another villain, or not villain. He's kind of like not an anti-hero, a dude. It's called White Tiger.
Is that the nemesis to Black Panther or what?
You'd think so.
Probably is.
Maybe. We're not comic book guys. I mean, I was to an extent, but like, it's gotten to a point where I don't know a whole lot of stuff. And I kind of want to go in blind, because I feel like sometimes when you read comic books, you have an expectation of the movie or whatever adaptation to be just like it. And sometimes it can be worse. Sometimes it can be better. So I just kind of want to go in blind and see what they create here. And I'm hoping, I'm itching, I'm jonesing that it'll be good. An interesting part I saw in there, though, Wilson Fisk is now the mayor of New York. I want to know how they'll address that. If I recall, correct me on it, he went to jail for cutting a guy's head off or something. Is that right?
Probably. I can't wait to see Matt Murdock. I just got off the phone with the mayor.
What, the mayor?
He was. I remember him being in prison. I think I seen the first season of Daredevil, so I don't really know what happened the last few seasons, but I remember him being in prison, him beating up a few folks.
Yeah.
He'd benches like 4 plates easy.
Yeah. I think we're excited for this one. It comes out in March, I believe, so we're looking forward to that. I think we might do a play-by-play, like a week-by-week something. We're definitely going to check it out, so look forward to that one. Moving on, Disney is in some hot water again.
Sure.
Says, writer sues Disney for 10, I don't know if it's billion or million, maybe I wrote this wrong. Sues for 10 something, claiming similarities between his script and the Moana movies. Quote, breathtaking similarities, including a story that centers around a teenager on a dangerous voyage to save a Polynesian island, representations of Polynesian ancestors through animal spirits, a symbolic necklace that plays a special role in the story, and a demigod with a giant hook and a tattoo that helps the protagonist, just to name a few.
But is the demigod the Rock?
That's the linchpin, really.
Yeah,
like you don't have a leg to stand on with this case because Dwayne the Rock Johnson is the demigod. Yeah, a lot of people are calling foul. I feel like he doesn't have a whole lot of merit to say on this case because people are like, oh, you just took a bunch of Polynesian stuff and molded it together and they got to it first or something. Because so far, none of his content has been released, so we can't really compare one-to-one and see exactly who ripped off who or whatever, but the census is kind of like this guy's just kind of in it for a buck, trying to sue him and get some fast money, which, that's America, baby.
Yeah.
Opportunities.
Exactly.
80s kids, get ready to celebrate and brace yourselves. Warner Brothers is reportedly working on new movies for both Gremlins and The Goonies.
Wow.
Says Christopher Columbus. You know Christopher Columbus?
Yeah. Ocean Blue,
there,
1902 or something.
Sure, 1492, you dinosaur.
Close enough.
Says Christopher Columbus, the writer of the original Gremlins, is said to be developing a new installment. There are also whispers of a fresh Goonies project in the work. Chris, you ever see Goonies or Gremlins?
Oh, yeah.
Did you like
I've seen Goonies. I remember seeing Gremlins once, I believe, as a child. That one I don't remember as much. I believe that had Aunt May, or am I making that up in my mind?
Who, Goonies?
No, Gremlins.
Gremlins, sorry.
Does that have Aunt May?
No.
Okay, well, I guess I made that up. I saw an older woman, and I assumed it was her.
I get what you're stepping at. The mom kind of does have that Aunt May.
Is it not her?
I don't think so.
I saw it as like a 10-year-old, but I was sure it was
So
Aunt
anyone
May.
over 30 was an old person to you, right?
Yeah, but Goonies, I remember liking that, seen that many times. It's been
movie.
10 years, but are they doing remake, sequel? What are we talking here?
A lot of this is rumors, early stages, so it looks like Gremlins is at least a continuation, and then whispers of Goonies remake. So I don't know. There might be a remake, might be a sequel, but we do know that they're kind of dabbling. They want to dip their grimy little mitts into those IPs and get some more money out of them.
Surprised it lasted this long. Well, they made a few sequels to Gremlins, ain't they?
They did, I think 3, if I recall. The thing that's charming about that movie is it's all like in camera, you know. I don't want to sound like an old man, but it's like I like the puppets. I like seeing the puppets and the gross little creatures, and if they just do like little CGI monsters, I'm like, might as well just make it animated at that point.
Yeah,
you know?
Sure.
Anyway, moving on. Chris.
Yes.
For Nolan news.
Oh.
His new movie, we reported back in October, it was rumored to be about vampires. Yeah. I don't know where that came from.
Oh, not a vampire movie?
No, not at all.
What? Oh, that's kind of sad.
At least I did some research. Tell me if I'm wrong, listeners, but his newest movie, maybe he has a vampire in the back of his mind, you know, but his newest movie is going to be an adaptation of the Odyssey from Homer Simpson, set to release in July 2026. It has a budget of $250 million, one of his most expensive movies ever made, featuring hit stars, a star-studded cast.
Tom Holland, Zendaya, a couple other people I can't remember offhand. Nicholas Hoult, he's showing up.
Close. Nicholas Hoult in a different font. Robert Pattinson. We got Anne Hathaway, Matt Damon.
Michael Caine's gonna show up.
Sure.
Morgan Freeman will be there.
Mm-hmm. We got Lupita Nyong'o and Charlize Theron. So,
and it's Odyssey, huh?
The Odyssey, yes.
It's a movie about a minivan, or what's going on here?
Wouldn't that just pull the rug out from everyone?
Just like you got to check out this 2023 Honda Odyssey.
It's not even a 2026, just a 2023.
Yeah.
Tom Holland voices the Odyssey. It's an animated movie costing $250 million. I love it. Staying on that movie, The Odyssey, Ludwig Göransson, composer of Black Panther, Tenet, and Oppenheimer, has been announced to score Christopher Nolan's movie, The Odyssey. This pairing marks another collaboration between the two that previously captivated audiences with the intense and innovative score of Tenet and Oppenheimer, which he won the Academy for Best Original Score. I don't know, are you much of a soundtrack guy?
I like a good Zim.
You like Hans Zimmer?
That feels a little rotten. Why is Zim not on here?
That's the exact thinking, Christopher. Listen, no shade on Ludwig. He's a phenomenal composer. Let's put that in the air.
But he's no Hans.
He's no Hans. I feel like Hans and Chris, they just have a marriage that just is perfect. And this one especially.
Inception.
Yeah.
Spectac, Interstellar, of course.
The Batman's movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if you're going to do one, why not pair them up with The Odyssey? You know, one of the most epic stories of all time.
I know. Imagine hearing that surround sound in that 2023 vehicle. Imagine all the damage it could do here.
This episode is brought to you by Honda, the 2023 Honda Odyssey. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Should be fun time. So we'll see how it plays out. I really hope bloody Tom Holland isn't the main character. That would kind of take it out for me. Sounds like it is, but
yeah, probably so.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I trust Chris.
Sure.
What news you got for me, buddy?
The new Anaconda movie, starring Paul Rudd and Jack Black, will release on December 25th, 2025, in theaters. The film follows a group of friends facing midlife crises who decide to go to the rainforest and remake their favorite movie from their youth, Anaconda.
Is this the same franchise of John Voight fame?
I believe so.
You know that gif I'm referring to?
Where he's just staring at...
Staring, yeah.
Kind of biting his lip.
Yeah.
You know, I watched that movie like a year or two ago. I don't know when the last time you've seen Anaconda is.
I've never seen it.
You never seen it?
Never, yeah.
Well, let's just say John Voight, he plays a Paraguayan, like just full on, and he's got like the most atrocious accent. And the plot is he's basically trying to hunt this big ol' anaconda. But he's kind of the main villain. But yeah, he's real creepy. That's where you see that gif of him just like staring at
Jennifer
J-Lo.
Lopez. So this one sounds like a more of a comedic tone then with Jack and Paul, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, I like Paul.
I like both of them, yeah. Good
I
pairing.
don't care too much for Black per se. Jack, I should clarify, but but I like what?
Freudian slip there.
Freudian, yeah. But I do like Paul.
Yes.
This one I thought was funny. Aaron Taylor and his Johnson, when asked if he's going to be in the next James Bond. I love slipping on a tuxedo. Do you know what? I wear a tuxedo in Kraven the Hunter. You should see that movie. Honestly, it's got a ton of action, and it's a thrill ride, honestly.
Astounding segue.
I know.
What a man.
He's like, someone please come watch. I wear a tux there.
Since you brought Kraven up, let me tell you.
Yeah, let me.
That's good.
Next up.
Glenn's Corner, where I'm sitting in the corner looking at nothing but a picture of Glenn.
Chad Powers, starring Glenn Powell as a failed college football quarterback, is releasing in fall 2025 on Hulu.
Bumping my hands. I'm ready for it. I remember a Hulu teaser. It kind of showed like upcoming stuff. There's a few like just quick little glances of Chad and his powers. Yeah, just a little tease. We are excited, so excited for this. He's got a couple of projects coming out this year. I think that should be the most fun. Even though we don't get to see his pretty face, we get to hear his voice, look at his body, amongst other things.
I'm sure we'll still get a glimpse in the face or two, you know.
Maybe have a Miss Doubtfire type transformation.
Off the mask, yeah. Well, that's all I got, Steve.
Well, if that's all you got, Chris, I got a question for you. And that question is, what you been watching?
I've seen one movie. Dun-dun-dun-dun. That's my brother. That's Mufasa, my brother. My brother.
Stop it. I command you to cease. Oh, man.
You heard of this film? You seen this film?
I've heard of that song that just will not escape. You're talking Mufasa, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is Lin-Manuel. Mm-hmm. He did the old soundtrack instead of Moana 2. He was like, let me get on this brother business.
Brother.
And that song is the only one I can... There's that, and there's another one where it's like the villain song. Mm-hmm. The hook is just like, gonna make him go bye-bye. Like, that was literally it. He's gonna go bye-bye. I'm like, what is this? None of the songs are good. You're not gonna watch this, are you?
Oh, heavens, no.
Did you hear why he turns bad?
Who, Scar?
Can I spoil it for you?
Can I guess?
Spoiler for the movie. It's not very good. It's not the worst. The end, the last act is pretty stupid and all that. None of the songs are good. I wouldn't really recommend it, but go on. Guess. Make your guess.
You got
Spoilers.
Mufasa, and his name's like Taka or something before he was Scar.
Sure,
right?
Tucker.
He gets a scar somehow. So maybe he has a run-in with like Timon and or Pumbaa. They get a scuffle, and Pumbaa maybe scratches his eye, and then Mufasa's like, hey, these are my folks. And then he's like, hey, is that the reason?
No.
Okay. What's the reason?
Can I just go over a quick thing of the plot here?
Sure.
Let me just educate you. It starts off Mufasa. He's a little baby, little kid here.
A cub.
And he's got some good parents, happy family. He's like, oh, let me go swim in this thing. And then there's this flash flood. It started raining. He gets thrown down the river. I guess his parents don't try and look for him. And he doesn't try going back, so that he gets found by Tucker. And then he's with Tucker's crew. So they're not real brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, some other people go, they attack. It ends up him and Tucker are trying to go to their faraway place where Pride Rock is. They don't know it's Pride Rock, but it's some place out there. So they're journeying, and they're getting chased by a pack of white lions. And they run across Sarabi. Is that the wife's name?
Mm-hmm.
Tucker has a crush on her. Like, they literally meet the day before.
Mm-hmm.
And Tucker's supposed to be the king. And Mufasa's like, I'll set you up here. And he's like, hey, tell her she smells nice. And he's like, wow, you smell nice. And she's like, thank you. But she ends up liking Mufasa.
Mm-hmm.
And they're both like real good friends. He's a nice guy. Tucker saves Mufasa a couple times. And then he hears like a secret conversation where she's like, I like you. And then that just makes him turn into rage.
That
this
was
girl he met yesterday liked his brother better. His brother. and then he tells the other lions like, hey, we're killing this guy. I don't care, and then goes evil. And then at the last second, when Mufasa's about to get killed, he's like, he felt bad, so he kind of stopped it, and then the other lion scratched his face. That was how he got the scar. And then it ends, Mufasa, they kill all the bad lions, and he sees Tucker, and he's like, I can never say your name again for what you've done. And he's like, well, I got this scar. You could just call me Scar. And he's like, all right.
It fits my personality better, to be honest.
Yeah. So all that was, it's pretty, story-wise, it's pretty dumb. Music dumb. It's just a 0 for me. And not booing, not cheering. I was wondering how he turns bad in the whole movie. I'm like, he seems like a nice guy. Like, what's going to happen? It's got to be something cool or crazy. And it's like, oh, really? The lamest reason possible. But anyways, that's all I see.
Pretty lame. Jeez.
You watch anything, Steve?
Well, Chris, I have been steeped in Severance content. Let me tell you.
Oh.
I was doing my yard the other day. I was listening to a podcast from the official Severance podcast.
Oh.
Hosted by Adam Scott and Ben Stiller. It's pretty good. I liked their insight on how the show was made. Each episode they go through, it's corresponding with the episodes of season 1. So episode 1, they go through the behind the scenes of episode 1. They talk to the writer and how the show got made. And then they share little tidbits of each episode. And each time a new guest comes on. So like episode 2, they had Dylan. Episode 3, they had Helly R. And so on. It's good if you like almost commentary tracks, because they go through the whole episode and tell like, oh yeah, this was the day that we did this. And, the writer gives his insights and shares little things that he never shared with anyone else before. One of which I found somewhat concerning. The writer, Dan Erickson, he explained how he was trying to get his work published and get to a TV show. And he presented the script to Ben Stiller and, Adam Scott, a couple other big heads. And to emphasize kind of the mysteriousness of the project, He said he wanted to have, like a coffee stain if you put it on a piece of paper, like a piece of, or like a cup. He said he wanted to do that, but with blood. He was trying different consistencies, different viscosities and materials to try to put it on there. And then he just, in the end, resolved to put his own blood on a coffee cup and put it on there. And people were like, "Oh, we always thought that was fake." And so he's like, "No, that's my real blood on there."
Real blood.
So, just little things like that are like, "Oh, that's pretty interesting," and get into the minds of them and how it was made. I think it's really good. And then along with that, more Severance content, Chris.
Oh.
I'm a big Severance man.
Yeah.
So much that it got me to read something.
Oh, wow.
Severance came out with a companion book called The Lexington Letter. It's a free book. You can download it or buy it online. I heard about it and I was just like, a couple weeks ago, I was like, I want more Severance content, And so essentially what it is it gives a different perspective of someone else's experience with Lumen. It's a prequel to season 1 about a woman named Peggy. She's a Lumen worker. Essentially, she sends this story that her experience with Lumen to a news outlet in Kansas where she's from. It's like an email chain kind of going and explaining her experience and telling them like, hey, you need to look into Lumen because this is what happened to me. There's something going on. Do you mind if I break it down for you or you have plans to read it?
Down.
All right.
You break it down.
So Peggy, she was a bus driver who became a severed employee because she was just kind of tired of her job. She got into like an accident that almost cost a lot of people their lives. She heard an ad for a severance employment and, she was tempted by the pay because they're like, they would pay 4 times more what she makes now. And she's like, that sounds great to just go to a place, shut off your brain, make money, and then, get to come home. So it was like, yeah, that's a no-brainer for me. And everything was fine for a few months. But then one day as she's getting out of work, she reaches into her pocket and finds a note. Severance at the time, they had word detectors, kind of like in the show, but it wasn't the same kind as that you see in season 1. So she opens the note and it's like a series of like crude scribbles and drawings. There's a thunderbolt and like a seahorse, and it just looks like a bunch of doodles. And then she remembers that when she was a kid, she had a secret language that she used to talk to her sister with called Puglish. She reads the note and it's her innie communicating with her to her outie. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of start communicating and writing each other these secret notes. And her outie tells like what it's like on the outside. And then her innie tells what it's like in macro data refinement where she works and like kind of the mysteries that go on. It all goes well until her innie talks about how she's like, I just worked on this big project called the Lexington File, and it was a lot of work, and we got a melon ball party, and we finished it at 2:30 p.m. The outie Peggy just reads it, and she's like, oh, that's all right, that's cool, whatever, and she goes home and turns on the TV. She sees on the news that a truck that was in, I think, a different state was mysteriously blown up at 2:30 p.m., the same time that they had finished the Lexington File. And come to find out that the truck was a competitor of Lumen, like something clicks in Peggy's brain where she's like, are these things connected? And so she thinks they're connected because there's a competitor of Lumen. It happened around like right when they said the file was completed. Outie Peggy tells her innie that like, what is this? And she gets nothing back. And then after a while, after a couple weeks, her outie gets a note from her innie and says, it's not in secret code. It just says like, I think you're right about Lexington File. I got sent to the break room. They're cracking down on code detectors. And then the outie Peg sends the innie Peg one more note and says, are you okay? In the secret message. And then innie Peggy sends another note out to the outie and says like, you got to get out of here. Nothing's real. It's all fake. Someone might try to chase you down. By the way, here is the MDR microdata refinement book that we use for training. There's some answers in there. Then a couple days after that happens, Peg mysteriously passes away from complications from a car accident. And then nobody knows what happens. And so that closes out. And then there's a correspondence between the person she reached out to at the news outlet and her boss. And the boss is like, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. So all this to say, it's like 40 pages long. So it's not a huge read or anything, but it's like just a nice little, I liked it because it's like the World of Severance supplemental material and a different perspective. So if you're listening and you have interest in reading it, it's free on any publication, Apple Books or Amazon Audible or whatever. And I quite liked it and it was fun. So.
Well, yeah, the only books you read are Severance or Argyle. So.
Yeah. Oh, don't bring that up. Jeez. Ugh, that was a painful memory. Anyway.
Did you see the new episode?
I did see the new episode. We're going to be doing a weekly play-by-play of Severance. Season 2 has just come out, and we're going just going to be spoiling things. So from here on out, if you haven't seen season 1, just know that we'll probably talk about that stuff. But moving forward, we'll be talking about any spoilers that happen in the episode. So just, if you want to skip forward, there's timestamps, but from here on out, spoilers. But Chris, we're back, baby. We are back. Waited over 2 years for this. Season 2 is here. What we'll do is I'll give a quick episode breakdown, and then we can kind of give our thoughts and speculation. That sound good?
Sure.
All right. So jumping right in, right where we left off season 1, the Severance elevator opens up to a disorientated Mark. And he's distressed. He's bloody. He didn't know what's going on. Because last we saw him, he was at his sister's house and just found out that Miss Casey, aka his wife, is alive. So he runs out the elevator. Just the camera is purposefully sporadic and follows him running through the office, mirroring the first season, but with much more chaos and urgency going on. He goes to the wellness center to find it's mysteriously gone. And then he goes to the MDR and his coworkers. They're replaced with different folks. So no more Helly, Dylan, or Irving. It's now Mark W., Gwendolyn Y., and Dario R. Potentially non-consequential characters, but we'll see how it works out. Then Milchek comes in. We find out that Milchek has replaced Miss Cobell, and he's the new manager. And in his place, as deputy manager, is Miss Wong, a 12-year-old little Asian girl. Milchek tells Mark that since their little stunt with the overtime contingency protocol, the 4 of them have made national news. They become almost the new faces of Lumen, and Mark tries to sabotage his new coworkers by putting a note in one of their coats to set off the detectors. Milchek immediately figures this out and has a run-in with Mark. Mark demands his old team back, which Milchek eventually obliges to. The 4 of them meet up for the first time since their outside adventure. Milchek shows them a claymation video of Lumen spinning the story of the 4 of how their outside adventure went a little bit. In the new break room, it's no longer the break room from season 1 where it's kind of a torture chamber. It's more of a relaxing, like, presentation room. They watched this video of their claymation story narrated by none other than, do you know who that was?
Trying to remember the voice.
It's your favorite, Jonathan Wick.
Ah, Keanu.
It's Keanu.
Wow.
Yes. A pairing I didn't know I needed, but was welcomed. After they watch the video, they tell each other what they saw on the outside, except for Helly. Notably, she lies and tells them she was at her apartment and tried to tell someone about Severance and Lumen, when in reality, she is the daughter of the Lumen CEO. So there's kind of an area of mystery of why she exactly lied to them. Milchek gives them a choice to either leave permanently and never come back to the severed floor, or stay. And of course, they all choose to stay, resolving that they'll work out this mystery and try to continue figuring this out together. At the end, we see Mark working on a file called Cold Harbor, and as he puts in the numbers in the macrodata refinement folder, it cuts to a corresponding screen with Miss Casey looking almost comatose as she's being monitored, almost in like a hospital state. So it's implied that there's some connection between Miss Casey specifically and Mark's any working on this macrodata refinement and these numbers, but we don't know exactly what. That's a long breakdown of what happened in the episode, but Chris, what'd you think of the episode? The
last season, again, it's been a few years. You might have to remind me a couple things, but I remember it ending with just like twist. Wow, this here, and you're just like such on a high. And then you come back season 2, episode 1, and it's like stuff happens, but it's a real slow burn.
Yes.
So I'd say that was kind of a negative to me, where it's just like not quite my tempo, you know?
Yeah, I get that. I think there's so much anticipation for this because the first season was so good. It's in no means a bad episode. Like it's a good start, but there was left a lot of questions, a lot of mysteries, and if anything, it asked more than it answered in terms of questions. Because it's like, why is this little Asian girl here? Who are these new people? Where do they come from? Where were they the whole time? What's going to happen to them? And it doesn't really resolve the most pressing things that we wanted to know. In fact, one of the kind of frustrating things I found about it was I was like, I'm itching to know what happened on the outside. But in this first episode, we don't see anything except the severed floor. I really wish we could see Audi Mark and the whole party. Like I wanted to just pick up right after him in the party, but we don't get any of that. It's not a bad episode, but it's setting up the pieces for more mysteries, even though they have mysteries that they already need to figure out. So I'm interested to see how they kind of play that out. I wasn't a fan of the new crew. I kind of hope they just are brushed aside. Yeah. All fine actors, good stuff. You got maybe from Arrested Development, but take them or leave them. if I'm honest.
I liked a couple of the storylines when they're like, all right, you can leave and you'll never come back, or you can stay here. And yeah, essentially it's like you're just working all day and no breaks because you go in the elevator, second later you're coming back, where it's like, well, is this better? Because if you leave, you basically just like suicide, kind of like it's over here. So I'm like, kind of ask the question. I'm like, if my whole life was just my 9 to 5, I would probably kill myself. I mean, I don't know. I mean, but maybe it's like the will and the mystery and all this.
Yeah.
Another fun little storyline is because you got Audi Mark S. has the wife, the psychiatrist, remind me her name?
Miss Casey.
But then he's got a thing with the redhead.
And they kiss at the end of the...
Yeah, they kissed at the end of season 1, and they're kind of an item here. This is kind of fun.
Yeah, that storyline will be pretty interesting, not only to see what will become of Miss Casey, but will she remember Mark? And also there's a moment between Mark and Helly where they talk. They're like, hey, it's pretty crazy that you have a wife out there, but like we kissed, And so she's kind of getting a feel for like what he thinks. And it's not the most important thing on his mind at the time because he's like, still trying to figure out stuff, but she's like, she's very Mystique in this episode because she's hiding the fact that she's the CEO's heir. And also she's like trying to get a feel for the others, what they are feeling towards like Lumen 2. So I like that there's kind of 2 secrets happening too, hers and then Dylan's too. Because Milchek shows Dylan, he's like, your wife is named Helen or Gretchen, something like that.
Sure.
And Milchek shows Dylan a room where he's like, I'm planning out this area. It's, for lack of a better term, like basically like conjugal visits.
Yeah.
Where you can see your Audi's significant others in this room without anyone else knowing. And so Milchek plants this seed that like, hey, if you're loyal to this side, then you have incentives that you want. And we all know Dylan's all about them incentives, right? But he doesn't like the idea of betraying his friends. And so there's that added element of Milchek kind of twisting, he's got the knife up and kind of twisting it to Dylan and saying like, giving him a choice essentially. And there's a lot of moving pieces around here that I'm looking forward to seeing expanded in the next few seasons, or episodes, I should say. So Chris, we talked, we conversed, and you asked me, you're like, do you want to watch Wolfman or Back in Action? And
you said, I asked, what are we doing? You're like, Back in Action, Netflix. And I'm like, either that or Wolfman. I wasn't really excited for either. Yeah. And you're like, let's do the Netflix one. All right, fine.
Mostly because I didn't want to go to the theater. And I learned from this moment, I was like, just go to the theater.
Well, apparently Wolfman was pretty bad too, from what I was hearing. So
okay.
It might have been the better option.
Well, what we'll do here is we'll give a quick little plot synopsis and just talk about recommendations, what kind of rating we'd give it, and then we'll go into some cons and pros. But I think it's fair if we just spoil it, right? You want to just spoil it?
I'll really just say it's probably not really worth watching. Whatever you think's going to happen is probably going to happen. It's just like a standard. It's kind of like a Red Notice. You ever see that one?
Yeah, with Dwayne and Ryan and Gal.
It's one of those where I'm like, it's a Netflix movie. I didn't come in with high expectations. I'd probably give that a 0. I'm not like, it's not terrible, but I'm not going to ever watch it or recommend anyone watch it.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I was expecting a little bit more because it's got a good cast. You got Cameron Diaz back from retirement.
Yeah.
You got Jamiee Foxx, Kyle Chandler, Andrew Scott.
Back from the dead.
Who's back from the dead?
Jamiee Foxx. I thought he had like died or something. I remember hearing stuff he was dying or dead like a year ago, and he's looking great here.
Yes. And Glenn Close is also in this.
Oh, yeah. Cruella.
Yes. To be honest, if you're going to watch something on Netflix with Jamiee Foxx, if that was the deciding factor, you ever see the movie Day Shift on Netflix with him?
I've seen the cover. I'm trying to remember. Is that the one with they get superpowers or something?
No. It's much more of a fun time. It's got Jamie, it's got Dave Franco, it's got Snoop Dogg.
Sure.
Jamiee freaking Foxx, he's a vampire hunter during the day. He's a pool cleaner / vampire hunter, and so is Snoop Dogg. And he goes on this ragtag adventure with Dave Franco, who's a pencil-pushing nerd at this vampire killing like organization. It's just a fun time. So watch that one instead. Yeah.
Oh, all right. You've convinced me.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, we got to talk about this thing.
I remember there was a time where I thought Jamiee Foxx was the most talented person in the world.
He's a triple threat, man.
I know.
He's a singer.
I mean, he still is one of the most, but yeah, singer,
actor, dancer.
Funny.
He's funny. He's a great storyteller. If you ever listen to him telling stories on like Joe Rogan, it's great stuff. He's a good storyteller. Yeah, I feel like he couldn't even save this movie, to be honest. But that's the worst thing about it. This cast, it could be interchanged with really anyone, and it would play out the exact same. I guess before we get ahead of ourselves, you want to give a quick breakdown of the plot? Yeah.
It's basically Spy Kids, but they're teenagers. But yeah, Jamiee Foxx is a spy, Cameron Diaz is a spy, and they're on a mission, but they're kind of secret lovers. Turns out she's pregnant, and they're flying back, and she tells him, hey, I'm pregnant, you're the father. And he doesn't go get some milk. He says, I want a family. I want to be with you. And then turns out on the plane, there was double agents here trying to steal this key that they found on the first mission. And they end up kind of crashing the plane, parachuting out. And they're like, well, if I'm having a kid, obviously we've got to get out, but people are going to go after us. We're spies, so let's just fake our own death here. They're going to think we're dead in this plane crash. So then cuts to 15 years later. They're a happy couple. They got 2 kids. The kids are high school, a 14-year-old girl and a 12-year-old boy. And
he was 12?
I'm pretty sure that's
Looked
what
like he was 8 years old.
Maybe he was 8. She's 14, though. Yeah. The daughter, she's a teenager. She doesn't really like him. And she's, gonna go study with Tiffany here. All right, have fun, sweetie. And turns out she was out at a club. They just let a 14-year-old.
Yeah. And she clearly looks 14.
Yeah, she clearly looks 14, and she's in like a booth, and they show up, and she's, drinking, and the mom's like, get home, and she's like, what? I'm just dancing. And we're like, we just saw you drink like 20 seconds ago, lady. And the people in the bar, I think they're like friends, but they're like clearly like college kids or older. Yeah. They're like 30-year-old men. And they're like, she don't look 14. I'm like, that doesn't work like that, man.
Come on now.
Yeah, that was kind of, yeah, it's fine, man. And then they can't control themselves. They fight the guys. Cameron Diaz punches them. Jamiee kicks them, and they make a big old scene, and someone records the video.
Did they kill that man? By the way, because they throw him off a ledge that's like 20 feet onto a DJ station. Yeah, I'm like, that guy has no
response.
Yeah,
he's paralyzed from the neck down. Yeah. They took out that deleted scene. They thought it was a little too much of a bummer. Mm-hmm. But then it cuts to getting ready for school, and then their spy boss, who they didn't tell was dead, which is Kyle Chandler, he knocks on the door like, hey, and they're like, hey, buddy, how are you? Like, they don't really seem that alarmed that he just showed up at their door. And he's like, shows them the video. And they're like, oh, yeah. And he's like, well, if I found you, the people still looking for that key are going to want to find you. And they're like, key? What key? We don't got the key. And then he gets shot. And falls down, and then they got to run. They pick up the kids to school, and that kids don't know they're spies. All right, we're just going to go to a quick trip to UK here, and got to go visit grandma. And they're like, what? I didn't know how to grandma. Oh, yeah, totally going to see.
I mean, everyone does, yeah. But
eventually, they're getting attacked, and the kids see them. They're at a gas station getting gas, and they're getting jumped by some Russian dudes. And Jamiee lights the gas pump, whatever you call the handle thing. Mm-hmm. Is that just a pump?
Nozzle? I don't know.
Nozzle. And he's doing a flamethrower. They kill a few of them, and they pull the kids out of the diner, and then they're like, all right, we're spies. The oldest daughter, she says, I never thought you were cool enough to be spies.
That's Spy Kids.
And it's not technically played, because Spy Kids, she says, my parents aren't spies. They're not cool enough. So it's a little, it's what I would do in college as a workaround on those plagiarizing,
Exactly.
Straight from there. And then they meet up with the mom, grandma, because they actually had the key. Yes. Jamiee hid the key there. And they go
at Grandma's house, yeah.
At Grandma's house. And he's going to get the key, and then guess what? The Russians, they show up, and they tie up the family, and then lo and behold, guess who walks in? Kyle Chandler. I ain't dead, man.
I'm not dead.
He's not dead. And I faked it, I faked it. I got you. Give me that key. And he gets the key. They get in a fight, but he takes the kids and he's like, hey, don't do nothing. If you don't do nothing in a day, your kids will be fine. But I got to go do some deal here with the key. And he takes off. And then what do the parents do? They follow him there and they fight him. And apparently the key makes it so you can open a bridge.
The key that they're after is a MacGuffin in every sense of the word, because it does, not only as everyone after it, but it does anything and everything that could happen. Like they show the arms dealers what it can do, and they turn off every light in London, and then like they turn off the bridges. It's like it can do anything, hack into any server, it's an ultimate. It's a bird's eye, whatever that thing from
Fast X.
Yeah,
the key was like 15 years old. They could have just made another one, or
it'd probably be easier to wait 15 years for it to resurface as opposed to trying to build it.
Yeah, I
That's
guess.
Why put in the work?
Yeah, they end up getting the key, saving the kids, and then it ends with one of the CIA guys. He's like, hey, I got a mission for you. And they're like, nope, we're retired, a one-time deal. All right, it's not for you. It's for a family member. And she's like, all right, I'll go call my mom, because her mom's like, Mission Impossible type mom. And he's like, no, not your mom, your dad. And then Jamiee says, I didn't know you had a dad. And then it cuts to credits, leaving up room for sequels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, you want to go some cons?
Yeah, I've got plenty.
I think this is one of the odder pairings I've seen between two leads, Cameron Diaz and Jamiee Foxx. Both great actors, great in other roles that we've seen them in, but to me, zero chemistry.
Yeah,
there was just nothing there. It looked like two coworkers who were forced to socialize at the end of the year Christmas party. Probably because they were two coworkers forced to socialize. It really seemed like there was just no love there. It's just didn't work at all. There was no love. I didn't feel the love. There was nothing special about this movie. Like, this is really the unforgettable middle child of any Netflix movie. At least Red Notice had Dwayne and Ryan, cracking jokes every now and then. And there's some heisting, triple turn, what do you call them? Fake outs, twists.
Yeah. Twists and twists.
This one, as soon as Kyle Chandler showed his face, I was like, okay, he's the bad guy. Even though he's on the good side.
When he showed up at the door?
No. When he first showed up on screen.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, immediately. Because it's like, you have like 4 big name actors. So you like, it's not going to be Glenn Close. It's not going to be Andrew Scott, because he's the British guy. And so like, I'm like, all right, it's obviously going to be Kyle Chandler. He's obviously going to be the one to double cross him. So the second I saw that little Friday Nights coach, I was like, he's done for.
Well, you're better than me. I was watching it with my wife, and as soon as he showed up at the door and he gets shot, I'm like, I bet you $100 he's going to come back at the end. He wasn't really shot. It's literally the same thing from the first Mission Impossible with John Voight, It's very predictable, the whole movie.
Yeah.
But how about that CGI, my friend?
You're talking the plane?
The plane,
Crash?
The cars, whatever you want here.
Yeah.
It's pretty rough.
Especially the plane sequence. No dogging on VFX artists. They're artists in every sense of the word. I like to think, even though this movie costs like, what, 200 million? Maybe 100-something million?
I don't think they say if it's a Netflix normally.
Not enough money was dedicated to the CG. There's times when the plane crashed at the beginning in this frozen tundra where I was like, wow, that's rough. I couldn't do any better, but goodness, most of the things like the ragdoll physics when people get crashed in the boats and the motorcycles and stuff. But at that point, I was just like, I knew what this movie was. It was a laundering scheme. It's like, this isn't real. This isn't, Oh, there's also something weird in the plane crash, if you noticed. So they crashed this plane, and it's sliding down this mountain, this frozen mountain, and the wings come off, the back of the plane comes off, and they're careening towards this cliff. And they find one parachute, and Jamiee Foxx puts on Cameron Diaz, and he's like, we only got one chute, protect my baby. And she's like, you're coming with me. And when they're saying that, she like wraps him around her legs or something, and they're falling down, but they're not, if you fall down like that, like just you tend to float. They don't float. They're just like anchored to the ground. And so I was like, well, minor, details like that. That's kind of
in that part, the plane is literally like nose diving to the ground. And like, yeah, they're not phased by it. Like, and right before that, you know, both wings got knocked off, and it didn't really seem like it didn't affect. They had zero gravity mode on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It was very clear. They're like, don't worry about this. No one's going to care about this scene here.
Yeah. Well, I care about it.
Yeah, CG was bad. A lot of green screen. Even like right after that scene, they're like, because it's in the snow. And they're talking, and you can see behind, it's like a pretty good, like, snow blizzard, like a bunch of snow falling. But you just look at their clothes, not a single speck of snow, like, not even trying.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, can you, like, put a potato, something,
potato
something
flakes,
on there?
something, yeah.
Yeah, but they're just like, whatever. I think Zack Snyder would love this film because it's got a lot of slow motion. Just random, like, guy is flying out of a car. It's like an 8th grader on the Apple edit or whatever. And it's just like, let me put a little slow-mo. That's what this needs. And just
Yeah.
a lot of those type of things.
As soon as we're done talking about this, I'll forget this movie exists.
I'm going to say it's a early favorite for that came out this year.
Yeah. Well, if you're all still listening, give us suggestions, please, for movies we should watch. Because I don't want to have to do this again. Like, even if it's like a random, no one knows this movie, we'll watch it. But something good. Something really good or something really stupid. Yeah. But these middling ones, it's just like not very fun to look at, watch, or even talk about, really. Are you in agreement, Christopher?
I agree, but I still have lots of things to say. Are
sure,
you trying to wrap it up
no,
right now?
I'm not rapping.
No, please give us better ideas, unless you really love to hear our thoughts on this.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to like bad effects and such, there's a scene, I think it's the same scene with the snow. Maybe it's just because it was more apparent, but they're supposed to be a little bloodied up, you know, because they just had a plane crash and fought a bunch of people. Cameron Diaz is supposed to have blood on her face, but it's literally like you could just see it's just like lipstick or something, like some sort of like blush. Like it doesn't even look
something
close
they get at
to
Spirit
blood.
Halloween. Yeah.
Yeah. And like Jamiee Foxx has got like someone rubbed a red crayon on his forehead a little bit. It was just didn't really seem like they put a lot of effort or cared.
Yeah. It feels like they did make this in like a week. You know, they filmed on some locations, but a lot of it they're like, we should do this on green screen, right? Let's just do it on that.
There's a scene where it's when they're at the grandma's house. Kyle Chandler makes his big reveal. So he's like, I'm actually bad. And before the Jamiee and Cameron got caught, the grandma and the grandma's boyfriend, they're both tied up. And they just, let me just cut the handcuffs real quick. And then they get caught there. And the grandma, she's like a CIA type of MI6, I believe is what they call Mission Impossible 6.
Yeah.
And she's in the kitchen. She's got like a tranquilizer gun she pulls out of somewhere. And one of the bodyguards, henchmen, walks in. She shoots him. He falls down immediately. And then 3 seconds later, another one just slowly walks in because he saw the guy, looks down at him. She shoots him. He falls down. And then 5 seconds later, 2 of them just slowly walk in, look down at the body. And then she fights them. She ends up, getting them, but a gun startled the other people that, he's telling his evil plan. And then I guess that startled them enough that Jamiee and Cameron could kind of fight, and they're fighting and they steal the gun and they got the guns pointed to Kyle, but they have their henchmen. It's still like a 20-2 outnumber type of thing, but he already got the key. So he's like, all right, I'm taking the kids. Because he's got the kids in front of him, so I can't really shoot. All right, taking the kids. Don't do nothing. I got the kids. They're like leaving to go in a helicopter. And as they're leaving, because there's some guys behind, they just like smack them both in the head, knock them both out, and then still just leave. Like, I'm like, you knocked the 2 people out that you just had your whole stand up with.
Yeah.
Why just tie them up? Take them. It was clear they probably like had, all right, they're here and I don't really care how it happens. Somehow they got to be separate, and I guess we're doing this.
Also, the grandma's boyfriend.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that would be more. Like, I thought he would be a double agent or something, because his whole character, he's this kind of adult baby, like very incapable of doing simple tasks, and he's supposed to be like comedic relief, but he's also the lover of the grandma, and he's trying to train for MI6. There's a lot to his character, but I'm like, what? Why is this? It's pointless.
And
It's not
weird,
funny.
Cringe.
I guess he saves the day at the end by closing the bridge. He does it by accident. It's one of those things where you're like, you suspend disbelief, but at this point you're like, could you just have some sense of, because the way he closes the bridge, he pounds his fists on the computer and it just happens. And I'm like, oh wow, you guys just gave up at this point, didn't you? You know?
He's pointless. And it's one of those like awkward, because he's a lot younger and he's like, hey, you can call me grandpa. And they're doing like these weird, like, oh, he's kissing Glenn close and they're madly in love and very touchy with each other. He's telling a lot of these, but you could tell the writers are like, this is going to make the audience laugh. This character, like they think he's going to be the most hilarious.
Yeah.
Not once.
Doesn't work.
There's another scene towards the end where Kyle Chandler, he's on the boat, he's with the kids, and he's got his henchmen, and they had opened up the water drawbridge or something, and he's trying to run off, get away with the boat, and it's open. And Cameron Diaz and Jamiee, they're on a motorboat catching up, and so they catch all the way up to the boat, and mind you, these are like, motorboats, they're not like silent or anything.
Yeah.
And they've been chasing him. Pull up. Cameron Diaz hops on to Kyle Chandler's boat. And then the daughter yells, Mom! And then like 2 seconds later, Kyle Chandler turns out like, well, do something. And then the henchman like just realized she hopped on. Like it was like a good 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And the boat, it's not like a yacht or anything. It's like a 12-foot long boat. It was just like a lot of those type of scenes where I'm like, this is bad. This is not good.
Yeah. In fact, the whole time I was thinking those things, like, this really should have just been sent in an email,
Yeah. That's all I got for cons.
I don't know who this movie is for, to be honest. Teenagers wouldn't like it. We didn't like it. Maybe old people who really liked the movie Red with Bruce Willis, maybe. I don't know.
Or Red 1.
But if anyone who's listening saw this movie and was like, that's a good movie, I would like to know why. Wouldn't dog on you. I just feel like there's so many things in here we've seen better, more engaging than this. This is really just a hollow shell of a movie with nothing to hold on to, really. I've really tried because I like Jamiee and his foxes, but yeah, I'm actually booing, Chris. Booing for 3 minutes if I can.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
3 pros I put down.
Ooh, 2 more than me. Go ahead.
The fighting, when they're actually doing the hand-to-hand fighting, it didn't look bad.
Yeah, yeah.
It was better than I thought it'd be. So, like, the actual fighting was fine.
Yeah, some good stunts,
It's no, like, John Wick or anything, but it's like, it's passable, pretty good. I like the flamethrower gas station thing. I thought that was kind of fun when he lights the nozzle on fire. And
it's a good thing. How that stops is the henchman pushes the emergency stop thing. But what was Jamiee going to do? Like, how does he stop that? Because if he were to just stop pulling it,
it's
with
all
the fumes
over.
just explode. Yeah.
It's all ogre.
He was ready to risk it all.
He's probably been a fire dancer or swallowed the fire or something. And there was a couple chuckles I had. The one time that the grandma's boyfriend made me laugh was when he was trying to disarm the bomb and he doesn't know what he's doing. And he's like, hey, Siri. And then the grandma's like, no, I thought that was kind of funny. There was something else about Jamiee. I think it was after the gas station fight when they're like, did you kill those people or something? And Jamiee was like, your mother did not. I don't know, something about murder, something I chuckled. Not good enough I can remember.
Incapacitated him or something like that, maybe.
I think those were 2 little chuckle I had.
So, faint memory of a slight exhale out of the nose.
I'm trying to be positive here. Yeah, basically that's it. How about you? What are yours?
I got one, and it was the fight scene. Some of the fight scenes were serviceable. Props to the stunts guys and the stunt women doing all that. Because some of them were pretty good looking up there. You're like, hey, that's a pretty good looking fight in there. That's all I got.
Let's say no more, and let's never speak of this again.
Speak of what?
I don't even know what we're doing here. How did we get here? Are you my innie or I got Howdy?
Anyway, listeners, if you're still listening, thank you. Well, it's been a long episode. Goodness gracious.
I know.
Chris, where can they follow us if they want to feel so inclined?
YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Muse, Apple Music?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it podcast? I'm not
Apple Podcast, I think.
Is that a thing? Okay. SoundCloud.
Actually, we're not on SoundCloud.
Oh, what?
Facebook.
Instagram. That's all I got, Steve.
And if you please, if you feel you guys are saying, hey, watch this movie, please let us know.
Yeah, please.
Email us or comment.
Below, do a vote. I don't care, man. Just give me something.
thestalepopcornpod@gmail.com. If you email us anything, we'll read it. Anything.
Anything.
Swearing.
Anything.
Fan fiction. Anything.
Anything. Argyle, book
Argyle
3.
fan fiction.
Yeah.
The entirety of Argyle, the book. We'll read it on there.
Yeah, on there. Thanks for listening. Have a good week.
You forget
Bye.
things like stale.
Popcorn, stale popcorn.
Popcorn.
This is the
Stale popcorn.
Popcorn.